Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fall admissions webinar for UT Dallas and the Jindal School. I'm Dr. Monica Powell. I'm the Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean here. And we are so excited about future applicants and admission for spring of 2024, as well as fall of 2024. It's coming quickly. So we want to make sure that we answer all of your questions today. We have a wonderful troop of people here to help answer your questions, and I want to introduce them to you. So we have Gaurav Shekhar. He is our Assistant Dean for Graduate Programs. He also serves as the Program Director for our MS in Business Analytics program. We have Corina Cantua. She's the Director of our Advising Operation. That is the operation that processes applications for admission into our graduate programs. She is also the one that leads the team that helps you in terms of registering for courses when you're here at the university and getting you ready to graduate. So she leads a really important team. We have our Senior Director for the International Student Scholars Office here on campus with us, Josephine Vitta. And you might also hear from Elizabeth Walker and Sarah Koo, her team members for Josephine. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to cover a lot of information in this time. So the one really good thing about this webinar is that we record it. It will sit out on our YouTube channel for UT Dallas and the Jindal School. You'll be able to go back and reference it. But the really good thing about being here live with us is that you will be able to submit questions and we will be able to answer those specific questions for you, because we understand when you're applying to graduate school, it's been a long time maybe since undergrad, and we do things differently here. So we want to make sure that all of your questions get answered by the time we're at the end of this webinar. So please note that in the chat, you can go ahead and put your questions in there as we move along. Some of those will be directly answered. Some of those will be saved because they are questions that so many of you have that are attending this session today. So let's look at the agenda and figure out what we're talking about today. We're going to be looking at admission application information and questions. We realize that every university kind of has a different application process, different procedures, different kinds of documents that are required. We want to make sure that you understand our streamlined process for admission so that we can help expedite those decisions back to you as quickly as we can. We know and realize that scholarship information is really important to incoming students. They want to be able to compete for those dollars to better finance their degree. And so we're going to talk about scholarship information. We'll also talk a little bit about other ways that students help fund their graduate degrees, because we realize that's an important investment for you. And of course, program information. You're applying to a specific degree program. So we want to make sure that you understand the constraints of the degree program, the numbers of hours, how it works, how you get degree program support questions answered, and information that is just general about the degree that is often important in the application and admission process. And then, of course, if you are an international student, we want to make sure that you understand the whole I-20 approval process, the visa process, how that affects you coming into the university, and making sure that you understand the portals where you get those critical questions answered as you move through what seems like a complicated process, but we'll make it simple for you. And then, of course, all of our prospective students who are joining us today, you guys are the real stars of the show, and we want to make sure that we leave ample time for questions that you may have about joining the Jindal School in 2024. So it is my pleasure to turn this webinar over to Corina Cantua. She is, again, the Director of Advising Operation. So her team is handling the admissions process, as well as once you're on board, getting you through the course registration processes. So Corina, you want to take it away?
Of course, yes. Good morning. I welcome you to this webinar as well. So we'll get started with some application information. I know that this will cover maybe a lot of your questions on how to apply. So I'll start with this slide. Now, to apply, you're going to be able to submit all the items that are on this slide. You can go to that website that is at the top of that slide to look at all these items and a lot more of a description for each of these items so that you can get a little bit more informed about what you need to do. But you can also go to jindal.utdallas.edu and then look for an apply button and go through there, and you'll land at a page that looks just like this, but just has a lot more details on each of those items. I'm going to go through them, but before I kind of touch on them, I do want to mention what's on the bottom of this slide, which is that you can apply for admission using unofficial documents. That's going to make things a lot faster. It's going to avoid delays because you can just upload those documents into the application system itself, and we are able to review and send your application material to the review committee just with unofficial documents. So don't worry about the official ones. Once you are admitted, you can worry about the official documents because we will need them. But for the application review, unofficial documents is the way to go. All right, now let's go down this list. So the first item that you need to submit is your graduate admission application. That is online, and you get to that through our Jindal page. So go and look for that apply button. Along with the application, we also need unofficial mark sheets or unofficial or provisional final degree certificate. We do look for a competitive GMAT GRE, but as noted on there, there are instances when you could get a GMAT GRE waiver, and I'm going to cover that shortly. For application review, we will also need your resume with all your work history. Post-baccalaureate work experience is required, but there are exceptions and there are waivers, and they'll be considered for any prior internship experience you may have or a very strong academic record. You will also need to submit a personal statement noting your interests and goals. And then finally, we do need 3 letters of recommendation, but applicants who have 2 or more years of post-baccalaureate experience only have to submit 1 letter, okay? Now, at least one of these letters must be from a professional contact, but they do not have to be from an employer. Now, one of the things that's mentioned on here is the English proficiency requirement. And if you look on the right-hand side of this slide, you're going to see the type of scores that we're looking for if you submit that English proficiency. And it does include Duolingo, which is more of a newer score that is being accepted by the university, but you can submit that. But what's most important is that you may not have to submit an English proficiency score because it can be waived. Now, the instances when this can be waived is if your native country's primary language is English, or if your bachelor's or your master's degree or its equivalent were earned through instruction and examination in English. So keep that in mind. If you have not already done an English proficiency exam, you may not have to if you meet either of those English proficiency waivers. All right, now let's go into the next slide because I did mention that GMAT GRE waiver possibility. So on this slide, you will see all of the specifics of how a review committee takes a look at your file to determine whether or not a GMAT GRE may be waived. This is also on our website. So if you go through that apply button on our jindal.utdallas.edu page, you're going to find this same information. I do want to let you know that when an application is submitted and all of the documents are in except for the GMAT GRE, we're going to send that application file forward to the review committee because we actually want them to determine whether or not a GMAT GRE waiver is possible. So if you submit everything else minus GMAT GRE, we're going to be looking to see if that waiver is possible. If it is, we will move forward and you will be hopefully admitted and you will be notified of this admission. If it's not possible, we will notify you. We will let you know that unfortunately we're not able to offer the waiver and we will request that competitive GMAT GRE. If you have any questions when you apply, all of your documents are in and you have not heard from us about the GMAT GRE, please let us know. Please reach out and we'll look into that for your file. Now, one thing that's important to note regarding GMAT GRE waivers is that Dr. Powell is going to cover scholarships. And I do want to make sure that you know that you would need a GMAT GRE score, an official score to be submitted for that. But she will go ahead and go into those details when we touch on the scholarship side. All right, now let's go to the next slide, because this is another popular topic, right? You may be wondering, how do I gauge how competitive I am for the program that I'm interested in? You may be interested in more than one, so you could definitely do this for more than one program, but our recommendation is always to visit our page, again, jindal.utdallas.edu, and look under each of the program pages. You will find a class profile, and it's something that looks like what's on your screen right now. It's a very nice short summary with all the important points of what a average candidate looks like who has been admitted to that program. So you would be able to kind of compare yourself to that average admitted student for each of your programs. So go ahead and do that. If it's multiple programs, you will find this on each of those pages. All right, and then the last thing I want to cover with you is what's on the next slide, which has to do with application deadlines. So what's on the screen are regular application deadlines. When you apply by these deadlines, you're applying on time. There's no late fee. You may see some additional deadlines. If you go to the main university website, you will see something labeled early application. Now, if you're ready to apply by those early application deadlines, please feel free to do so. An advantage of applying by that early deadline is that you get reviewed earlier and you will get a decision earlier. But I want to just point out that it's not required for you to apply by that early deadline. If you apply by the regular deadline, which is what's on the screen right now, you have not missed the deadline. We will still review your application. You will still get a decision. So please do not be discouraged if you miss that early application deadline. Go ahead and just follow the regular application deadline, and we will still process your application. All right. So with that, Dr. Powell, I will pass it on to you. I believe scholarship are next.
Thank you so much, Corina. We realize that scholarship information is just so important for students, and it is critical that you visit our website where we really outline the Jindal School scholarship process. I think one thing that I want to point out to students is what you see on the left-hand side of your screen, where you see who may apply for Jindal School scholarships. And we list out those programs that don't apply for the regular Jindal School scholarships because they have their own scholarship programs. So please know that if you're going for the full-time MBA cohort program, the cohort in accounting, finance, business analytics, the cohort analytics online, our fintech and analytics program, systems engineering, and all executive ed programs. The bulk of the students that are going to be watching this are applying for all of our regular MS degree programs or our Flex MBA. And we get lots of great applicants for that program. So please pay attention to who may apply. Now, it could be that you might apply to one of these programs that you see on the screen and our regular program. We have a lot of students who will apply to multiple programs. You can then certainly apply. And after you are admitted to that program and after you have submitted an official GMAT or GRE score, then we will send it to the scholarship committee for review and consideration. So please keep that in mind. You know, we have a lot of students who are asking us, you know, how are you making those decisions about scholarship? Is it based off your undergraduate GPA or a GMAT GRE score or off your work experience? The scholarship committee looks specifically at what you see in the bottom right-hand corner. It is a holistic review, just like our admissions process is. We're looking at essays, transcripts, supplemental information, recommendations. We're looking at transcripts. We're looking at GRE scores and GMAT scores. So know that it is a holistic process and there's not a single variable that guides that decision. So we hope that all of you will make applications. I will tell you that we process fall 2024 scholarship awards beginning in, you know, generally in late January, early February. The earlier you apply, because there are a limited number of those awards, will be to your advantage. We generally complete that process by the deadline for fall of 24, which is May 1. And if you happen to be applying for spring 24, the scholarship deadline is December 1. But keep in mind that you want to be proactive, you want to be early, and you want to have submitted an official GMAT GRE score. And that means that you've sent the score electronically to the university, not that you've sent you know, a PDF of the official score report that you got from that testing agency. So please keep that in mind. Now, the next slide is another really popular question that we get from applicants. If you happen to be admitted to your program of choice and you were given a GMAT GRE waiver, meaning you didn't need to submit it and they rendered a decision to admit you. Unfortunately, if you want to apply for a scholarship, you need to submit an official GMAT GRE score. We don't waive that on the scholarship side just because it was waived on the admissions side. So please keep that in mind and remember as you go forward, you've got lots of time to go out and take a GMAT or GRE right now before we even open the door for any of those scholarship decisions. So get it done, check that box, and get those official scores sent to us electronically. Now, a lot of students who apply for scholarship often want to know their status. You know, how do I check the status of my my scholarship applications? And you can easily do that. And you can go into the system. You can see on the screen that decisions are made periodically. If you've not received a decision, it could be that your application is not as competitive. We generally award scholarships to the most competitive candidates first. So there are things that you can do to improve your competitiveness. You can submit, you know, a higher GMAT or GRE score. You obviously can't change your undergraduate GPA, but you could submit a better resume. You could submit a better essay. You could submit stronger letters of recommendation. But please remember the schedule for how we announce things. Generally, if you are given a scholarship incoming student, you will get an email. You will know about it. The total results come out in mid-July for all continuing students. But keep in mind those deadlines of when we will let folks know when they get a scholarship. But when we start awarding scholarships in February, those that are awarded will get an email from us that will require that they accept the scholarship within a certain period of time. The scholarship will go void if it isn't accepted in a certain period of time. And then the other requirement that will be attached to scholarships this coming year is enrollment in courses by a certain deadline, or your scholarship becomes void. But we'll send all of that information in award letters, so you don't have to really worry about the particulars. But we understand that this causes students stress, so please feel free to send your questions to the scholarship email box. You can find that on the website. And then just remember that you can continue to check your status through the scholarship application portal. So let's talk just a minute about tuition. I think this confuses a lot of people, especially if you are an international student. So there are two rates for tuition. There is the in-state, I live in Texas and have been in Texas rate. And then there is I don't live in Texas rate, which is called, we call it out of state. And you can be out of state in Germany and India and other places. So there is a pretty significant difference in tuition. You can see an example of that in the upper right-hand corner. Keep in mind that if you are given a scholarship award for the fall semester, so let's say you apply, you turn in that GMAT GRE score, the official one that comes in electronically, you've been admitted, you've done all the things you're supposed to do, and the scholarship committee gives you an award in early February. That award is going to be $1,000, which is applied to your fall tuition, and it is also going to convert you from the out-of-state rate for tuition to the in-state rate. So that is a really lucrative award. It saves you about half of the tuition for the program, and you get that award for 2 long semesters if you're given it in the fall. So if you're given the award in fall of 24, that means you're given the in-state rate of tuition, that lower rate on the upper right-hand side of your screen, for both fall 2024 and spring 2025. Now, keep in mind that there are some criteria to maintain that scholarship. You have to stay in good academic standing, and you have to be enrolled in a certain number of courses in order to do that. If you are given an award in the spring, so if you happen to be a student who's made an application for spring of 24, you've applied for the scholarship, and we haven't rendered any decisions yet, but you've applied for the scholarship, you will be given a cash award of $1,000 and 1 semester of in-state tuition, which would be spring of 24. So what does that mean for you to apply for continuing student scholarships? That means in the spring, if you want to apply for continuing student scholarships for the next academic fall and spring, that you would need to enroll in 12 credit hours. An international student only needs to be enrolled in 9. That's a general legal requirement. But if you want to apply for fall scholarships next fall and you are admitted in spring of 24, you will need to enroll in 12 credit hours and complete that in order to be considered. So there is a link there at the bottom of the page that goes over all of the scholarship questions. There's a pretty sizable Q&A that is there that will help you. But, you know, we give away a lot of these in-state tuition awards, and we're delighted that we can do that and make a huge difference in the lives of our, in particular, international students. So go for it. Get out there, take that GMAT or GRE, check that box, be competitive and make that happen. So in the course of this webinar, we really also want to talk about just program duration and customization of programs. You know, I was talking to a group of students just yesterday, and I was explaining to them some of the unique characteristics of our master's degree programs that really don't exist at other universities that you might be considering. And I'm going to have Gaurav talk to you about that, because students have this wonderful option to be able to complete a degree, get a master's in business analytics degree, and while they're doing that, be taking courses that will also count toward wonderful certifications that will really boost your employability here in the United States. And we have a lot of academic certification programs. And if you're taking the courses anyway, then apply and get the certificate as well. So Gaurav's going to talk a little bit about that. He's going to talk about, you know, the mechanics of the degree. And there's one example on this page, which happens to be the business analytics program. But this is true for all of our master's programs. So I want to turn it over to Gaurav. Gaurav, go for it. Make sure that our students have a lot of clarity, and make sure you mention about that 1 credit hour program prerequisite of MAS 6102.
Absolutely, Dr. Powell. You know, one of the things that when you were talking about how students ask questions about our programs, or, you know, how their journey goes, I was just thinking about what is the main focus for us at UT Dallas. You know, we have a great infrastructure, we have great buildings, we have great faculty, we have great everything. But the most important thing are our students. And that's the reason why we have made sure that our programs are focused on our students. Rather than telling you that these are the courses that you must take, you know, a handful of courses to get your degree, we let you decide. We give you all the guidance, we give you all the resources required to make that decision, but we let you decide how you want to curate your experience. It's like you get on Netflix and you like a certain genre of movies and you watch those movies, and nobody's going to tell you something else or force you to watch a certain movie just because it's there. Now, the example that you see right now is from the business analytics program. And as Dr. Powell mentioned, most of our programs, in fact, all of our programs have similar structures. There is a set of core courses that you require, which in simple terms is that if you get out of the school with a degree, what are some of the minimum set of skills that you need? And those are part of our core courses. Every program has a different set of courses, and I would say anywhere between 30 to 50% of the degree program will be core courses, depending on the skills that's required. But then there will be a large bucket of courses that are called electives. Now, electives are courses you want to take, depending on your interests. I'll take analytics example. Some students are very interested in data engineering. Some are very interested in data science. Some want to go and work for a hospital and do healthcare analytics. Some want to do social media analytics. Some wants to do marketing analytics. Like that, we have several tracks. Based on your interest, based on what appeals to you the best, you pick and choose those electives, and you, mind it, you curate that experience of what that degree looks like for you. So whichever program you're applying to, just look at their catalog. The catalog it's like a menu card. It says that if you need to get this degree from UT Dallas, what are some of the course requirements you need to complete? Let's say, what are your core courses? What are your electives? If there is any prerequisite, for example, the MAS 6102, which is our professional development course. And I would say in the last several years, there are so many courses that we have added. This is one course that has impacted the most number of students in the most positive way that we feel. What does it take to work in an American workplace? How do you network with people? How do you make sure that your online presence, your professional presence is out there in the best shape and form possible? What should be on your resume? What should not be on your resume? When you go to a networking event, how is that experience looks like? How should you do interviews? How should you, I mean, simple things like from shaking hands to nodding heads to giving out the right answers, every aspect of your professional journey is taught in that class. That is a class that you have to take as an international student in your very first semester. And this is something we also list on your admission letter. Your admission letter not only has the decision, but after that wonderful paragraph that starts with congratulations, they talk about what are the requirements in that program that you must complete in the first semester. Some of you might have some things on top of the professional development course, but depending on whichever program you are in. So look at your admission letter to make sure what you have to do. But the example that we see in front of ourselves, you can see that half of the credit hours are core classes. Now, those are some set courses that you have to take. Should you take them all at once or should you split it across a degree? Again, that decision is yours because you are the one who's working on your skills. But let me take like 30 seconds and take you through what the life of a Jindal school student really looks like. You come to the school, you're attending classes, you're working on projects or maybe scenarios or case studies right in your class in small groups, or there might be a 10-minute discussion on a particular topic that the professor opened up, and then the entire class is discussing it and then providing their viewpoints on it. You might be scribbling on the whiteboard along with the professor and having a discussion on a particular topic that's hot there in that week, because we make sure that what we are teaching, we are also staying abreast with what's happening in the world, and we are discussing it in those in our classes. You're done with your class. There is an event right after your class. You go to that event and you meet 5 executives. These are people who are senior vice presidents, CXOs in different organizations that you get to shake hands with, talk to them, maybe exchange business cards. It is possible because we make sure that these people are here in our school every week. It's not a one instance in several years, but every week, hundreds of them are there. You need to get your resume reviewed by the Career Management Center, and you just walk into their office and you talk to our career consultant or our expert there who looks over your resume. You are engaging with your other peers. You may be huddling together in these student lounges to work on projects, homeworks, whatever is out there. And then there is, I mean, as a former student here myself, and as somebody who guides a lot of students, one of the things that students tell us is we don't feel that there is any time in the day when we can just sit down and tell ourselves there is nothing to do today. It's a statement no student ever says. Now, you might see that we have highlighted that little number out there. That is a huge number, 70 student organizations in one business school. I mean, across the country, and in fact, in many parts of the world, that kind of experience is not there. And these student organizations are led by students, driven by students. Everything about it is done by the students. It's first-hand experience that our students get. It's first-hand experience of managing an organization, participating in the activities. Sometimes you are the ones who is going out to those senior executives and asking them, would you like to come to UT Dallas? So you are gaining that experience of networking with senior executives, professionals out in the industry. Sometimes you do fundraising. Sometimes you do events that have social impact. I mean, everything about it is done by our students. Yes, there are faculty advisors, but I would say 99.5% of the work is our students. And those experiences are the ones. You might be dealing with a budget of $1,000 in your student org, but the same skill set you take for those $5 billion budget that is handed to you 2 years later in your organization. Alums from your programs are constantly walking our hallways for events. They are speaking in our classes. They're working on projects with you. They are just coming down to mentor you. So that kind of experience, a very well-rounded and whole experience is what a student needs. And that's what we provide. Again, one thing that Dr. Powell mentioned beautifully, and I'll just take you back to one of your grocery stores or supermarkets. When you buy a bottle of shampoo and somebody tells you there is another bottle free, who doesn't want it? I would love to have that. Just like that, we have our certificates. Our certificates are carved out of our degree programs, and they have like 3 or 4 courses. You take those 3 or 4 courses, make sure that your GPA in those courses is a 3.0, and you get that certificate. Guess what? You don't have to sit on those classes again. You don't have to pay the tuition the second time. You take that class once. If the credit applies to a certificate and a degree program, you get credit towards both. Most of these certificate programs, if you just had to come to UT Dallas for them, you would end up spending about $20,000. But as a graduate student seeking a master's degree, you are getting it for free. This is a diploma issued by a highly ranked state university, public university. And that holds a lot of weight when you go out to your employers and tell them that you have this micro degree, this graduate certificate. And they are in all sorts of spaces, applied machine learning, business intelligence, data mining, cybersecurity, project management, healthcare informatics. One of the things that you can do is when you scroll for a master's program, there's a section for certificate programs as well. And you will see oodles of certificates out there that are very focused on certain areas. Moving on, one of the things that people talk about is the cost to attend the program. Now, this cost can vary because of a lot of factors. If you are already aware of our YouTube page, you might have seen this webinar out there. If not, I would strongly recommend that you go and check out a webinar on financial planning that we did. The thumbnail says it is possible, and I will tell you why it is possible right now. The cost, of course, the biggest component in your cost is going to be a tuition. Now, the tuition, Dr. Powell just talked about the Texas residency and non-Texas tuition rates. That, of course, is a big component out there, and how the reason why there is so much difference in the two tuitions. But your tuition is there, which depending on your residency, depending on whether you have a scholarship, depending on whether you are a TA in the program and you might have moved from a non-Texas residency to an in-state residency, the range would be somewhere from about $40,000 to $65,000. Okay, you might start with a scholarship, but later can get support. You might start with a scholarship, but later move on to something else. I mean, there are a lot of scenarios there, and we have covered that in our webinar. That is on our YouTube channel. But the tuition range is about 40 to 65. Now, the living expenses is something that, irrespective of which program you are in, you might have similar expenses. So living is mostly your rent, the utilities, your electricity charges, water charges, your internet bill, all that put together. I would say, based on my conversation with students recently, anywhere between about $800 to $1,500 a month. Now, again, it depends on your lifestyle. If you have expenses, it will go up. But that $800 to $1,500 a month is what we see. If you're here for about, let's say, 2 years, which is about 22 months, you're spending close to $25,000, $30,000 just on your living expenses over the duration of the program. There is health insurance, which is also an important piece for your entire semester, the long semesters. It is about $1,400 that covers you. Health insurance is important. You definitely not want to be in a hospital, but in case you are, there are several things that are covered as part of that. And we make sure that our health insurance is top of the line so that students don't have to really wrangle through which place should we go to in case we need any kind of medical assistance. That is about $1,400 for the long semesters, fall and spring, and about $550 for the summer semester. So these are some of the bigger components of what constitutes the cost. Yes, there are miscellaneous expenses like, you have your, you might need some books, you might have some, when you apply for your internships and all, there might be a little fee, the international office charges. So I think putting all that together is about $1,000, $1,500 overall. But you're looking at a worst case scenario of about $80,000, $85,000. Let's say no support, no scholarships, nothing. About $85,000, and the best case would be somewhere around 60-ish. Now, this is where we would like to give you some very strong advice. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. You go for the number that would be the top line number. If I have no support, how much money do I need? But then, of course, with things might change when you come here. If you don't have a scholarship, you get a scholarship. You don't have it, you can't be a TA at the very start of the semester. But of course, in your second year, you can definitely apply for something. So those kind of things, they change the equations a little bit. The best thing is when our students become eligible for internships, and that is after 2 long semesters, a lot of them are pursuing very high paying internships that literally takes care of their second half of the journey. They're very comfortable with that. Our averages are about $30 an hour. which is a very big number in the market when you talk about interns earning that kind of money. So those are some of the ways through which you can ensure that you're covered. I would strongly recommend watch the webinar on our YouTube page. The thumbnail says it's possible, but it's a financial planning webinar. And I think it's time again for us, Dr. Powell, to maybe update that with new content soon. So please be on the lookout. Our YouTube page, by the way, is a great resource. It is, all our recordings are there. It's like if you missed any of our webinars, just go there, watch those recordings. You'll feel like you're talking to us. It's, moving on. So we do have a multi-pronged approach in terms of supporting your academic journey. We have our advising office that has a team of advisors that are dedicated to supporting you with your questions. But then there is a program side as well, where the program director, the program manager, academic support coordinators, they're the ones who are kind of helping students out. The two squares that you see here on the left-hand side, our advising office will help you with procedural questions. Okay, like how do you apply for graduation, or I'm ready to graduate, can you make the link available for me, or I need to do a degree audit, or I want to understand what is my core courses, what are my electives, can you help me with my course registration, I was not able to do, procedural things where it's a process related question, something that did not work out and you were able to go to an advisor and talk about it. But on the same side, you have the program director, the program helping you with the qualitative aspect of your questions. You might go to the advising office and say, I'm not able to enroll in the machine learning class, even though I've met the prerequisites. Can you help me? And they will help you. But to your program director, you might ask, I want to be a data scientist. Is machine learning the right course for me? I mean, just giving you an example there. Or, I'm not able to take care of my course load this semester and registration is coming. What should I do next semester? So your program will help you with those kind of questions. There are questions around your concentrations, tracks. I've taken these courses. What should I take in the future? We do a lot of advising pods with our students as a program just to answer these kind of qualitative questions. Or, 5 years down the line, this is where I want to see myself. What are some of the courses that will help me prepare for it? Career related advice, qualitative advice. Or something like, hey, I've taken this course this semester and I'm having some troubles in terms of keeping up with the coursework. I have these resources that the instructor provided, but do you have any recommendations? I mean, course of that sort, where we are mostly mentoring our students in terms of giving them advice around their academic questions. Whereas procedurally, if you run into any challenges or issues or you have questions, that's where the advising office comes into picture. The link is right at the bottom of this page, and you will find tons of resources out there to see what our program, our advising office can do. Moving on, career support, as I talked about, that this is a place, that the energy when you walk through the hallways is very infectious. When you walk by somebody who's wearing that jacket and having that look on the face of pride and walking through the hallways, that's a CEO who's just walked by you. Maybe one of the Fortune 500 CEOs that we did not know existed, but that's a common sight in the school. There are employers who have their tables out there. There are recruiting events out there. There are mentors who are coming and talking to our students. I mean, from a career perspective, and it's like this: you asked for a cup of coffee. And we said, here are the keys to Starbucks. You own it now. Get as much coffee as you want to. It's like that because no amount of resource, and this is our philosophy, no amount of resources should be considered enough. Give as much as possible to our students. Our students in any of our programs are working on hundreds of students are working on internships every year, with 300, 400, 500, 600 employers, depending on which program you're looking at. The Career Management Center, which is our own career center in the school, because we're a big school, we have 1/3 of the population of the university in the school with almost 11,000 students. We have our own events and we can't have just a few to support you because of the number of students we have. As you can see the numbers here, 215 events were conducted last year. More than 10,000 jobs are posted on Handshake. Handshake is a portal where we post our internships, full-time jobs, on-campus jobs, all of that. It's like a one-stop shop for our students. Employers are coming for hundreds of events. There are employer reps So it says 326 employer reps in the last year, 12 months. We're talking about close to 35, 40 of them every week who are out there. You know, we've got almost 2,500 internships that were reported. And half of them, if you can see, are graduate internships. We have an internship stories page on the Jindal School's website, where I am sure if you type the name of your dream company that you want to work for, you will find multiple students who may have gone and worked for them as an intern. And as far as preparing our students is concerned, yes, we start you off with the professional development course, the 1-credit course. Of course, that is in the very first semester, but we keep touching base with you every possible week with some of the other event, because we want to make sure that you are staying abreast with what's going on in the American workplaces and what you are required to do to make yourself make sure that you are employable, you are up to date, and you're ready to rock the world when you graduate with your degree with there. But most of our programs have an emphasis on completing an internship. We really want you to put your skills to test, because those internships gives you very good experience in terms of what you learned in your classes and how does that apply to the real world. But lots of resources. Again, the word resources, you might have heard me say that 5,000 times in the last 10 minutes. It is the truth, because that's what you would need as a student. That anybody who wants to succeed would need. Now, I'm sure at this point of time, you might also have some questions related to, the International Students Office. And my colleague here, Josephine Vitta, who I have the pleasure of working with, she's an ocean of knowledge when it comes to that area. I mean, we can't. It's like she's our Google, she's our Siri, she's our Alexa, and she always comes back. Google might sometimes say that I did not understand what you asked, but Josephine never says that, and she has answers to great questions. So Norma, if you can move to the next slide and bring Josephine up here and answer queries about I-20s and what it takes to get one of them. Josephine, over to you.
Gaurav, you are too kind, but I do very much appreciate having the chance to speak with you all today, wherever you are. I'm so glad you've decided to join us to learn a little bit more about our wonderful university. The first step, if you're an international student, which many of our international students are coming to the US in F1 status, which is a student status. The first step in your journey after your admission is applying for your I-20. The I-20 is the immigration document that allows you to seek a visa and to enter the United States. It's a fairly simple process, right? Once you're admitted, make sure you have a passport and make sure that you can establish that you have sufficient funding. Gaurav pointed you to resources about how you can think about that, whether you're doing a combination of personal funds or other, whether you're able to get a scholarship or whether you're going to be looking for other sources of funding. Make sure you gather those documents. Our website has a lot of information of what documents we will accept to establish that you have sufficient funding for one academic year for certain, and then a plan for the remainder of the time that you are going to be in the United States. The process for the I-20 application is a process that you're going to submit the information in an application called iComment. It's going to be your friend for the entire time you're going to be in F1 status at UT Dallas. You're going to log in with the same credentials. You're going to request the I-20. You're going to upload all of the documents along with that e-form so that the advisors can review it. And then you're going to want to just make sure you're keeping track of your email in case there's something additional that we have. But the best thing you can do is submit all of the documents, make sure all of the things are signed, make sure that we have a complete application. So the one time the advisor reviews it, they are ready to issue your I-20 and they send it to you via email. Now, when you receive your I-20, you're going to want to make sure you look at it very carefully. Look at the spelling of your name, look at the date of birth, which is going to be in the US format. Look at the program information. Make sure that all the information is as expected on the I-20 so that you can then go to the step of applying for your visa. After we issue the I-22, we're going to start communicating with you about the process of applying for your visa. Earlier this year, they made a change that allowed you to apply for a visa up to a year in advance. So you can apply for a visa right now. If you're a spring student, obviously, if you're a fall student, whatever point you're coming, you can apply in the year before you arrive. Please don't wait, because as you have probably heard, the interviews get booked very quickly the closer in time you get to the start of classes. So don't wait too long. Apply for the I-20. Go ahead and receive it, and then start the process for applying for your visa. Instructions for the I-20 process and the links for how you can prepare for the visa interview are on that URL that's listed on the bottom of the slide. So if we can go to the next thing. The one thing to keep in mind is F1 status is a student status. And so your primary purpose in the United States is to pursue your academic goals, to complete your academic degree, and to be able to then move on to your professional success. However, while you're in F1 status, you have certain benefits related to employment here in the United States that are secondary to you being a student. So the first thing is always you have to focus on making sure that your student status is strong. And as long as you're making solid academic progress, you can be eligible for employment. From the day you enter the U.S., which can be in the 30 days before the start of classes, you're eligible for on-campus work. The University Career Center helps support students with a variety of on-campus employment, which can be on our physical campus here. Working for the university can be with some of the companies that provide services on campus, like our technology store, our bookstore, and some of these other companies that serve our campus community. It can be at some of our other UT Dallas locations, including in downtown Dallas, with the Callier Center, and sometimes depending on the circumstances, it can be with other educationally affiliated locations. So there's a variety of options for on-campus employment. Closer to the time when you arrive, you're going to hear more about Handshake and how you're going to be able to get set up to be able to apply for on-campus employment. That is something you can do from the very beginning. You don't really need to wait for any period of time to be eligible for on-campus employment. It allows you to meet new friends, meet other, Americans and other international students, and just share kind of the good times of working while you're here. Let's move on to the next thing. After you've been here for one academic year, then you can really start to hone in your employment in a way that is more related to your academics. So curricular practical training, or CPT, as we call it, is really about bridging the gap between your academic learning and that internship experience that was spoken about earlier. We're looking at making sure that you are really getting hands-on, on-the-job training that will really prepare you to understand what your learning means in the practical business sense to prepare you for success after you graduate. You'll be eligible for CPT after you've completed one academic year in the United States, which means you've gotten, a certain number of credits, 18 credits or so, to be able to really have a good foundation in what you've studied that you can apply. There are a variety of other eligibility requirements that are listed over here. We have workshops. Oftentimes, one of the staff from the ISSO will come to your classes to be able to explain what the process is, so that you can know what's needed to apply, but also what's needed to be able to maintain your immigration status while you are working on CPT. So in addition to learning how to manage immigration for student and enrollment purposes, as you transition to CPT, you have to start understanding what are the immigration rules that apply to working under CPT, and then other types of employment. Let's go on to the next slide. Another wonderful benefit of your F1 status while in the United States is actually going to be OPT. Now, many people, our students, are very attracted to that opportunity to have 3 years of work experience in the United States. On the right-hand column, you'll have a list of programs that are in STEM designated programs at JSOM that will allow you to participate in the full breadth of OPT. The thing we want to make sure you understand is there's actually two separate sides. There's the 1 year of OPT that you can have after you graduate. That's for everybody, no matter what program you completed. And then the extension, which is an extension of that 12 months, is for those who are in those programs and that are eligible. So you'll need to be in a qualifying program of study, and you need to have qualifying employment. It needs to be the right type of employment, the right type of employer, and so that you can, again, continue your learning. And it's really considered to be an extension of your learning experience, to take what you studied in your programs, apply them in the real world, get that training and get that education, and really get a well-rounded period of F1 student status and prepare you for whatever the next stage is in your career. We're going to talk a lot more about it once you're here on campus. We start from our How to Maintain F1 Status workshop at the beginning, and we go all the way through explaining things to you. The next slide will let you know how you can reach out to advisors if you have questions. Now, we have several options. On the next slide, we have live chat, which is a way for you as a prospective student or a current student to have a chat. We don't have any chat bots. Those are actually real advisors that are in our office who can answer questions during the hours that we are available. And because they are real humans, it's not 24/7. We have set hours that are listed on our website, and the URL is on the bottom. You can schedule an appointment. This is going to be the same for prospective students can schedule appointments, and all the way through, you know, for the 3 years after you have graduated, you can continue to meet with us so we can answer your questions. And then we have the Ask an Advisor forms in iComment, which are a way for you to submit a question in iComment, and then we can respond to you right there as well. So please know we have a full team of individuals who are here to work with you while you're still outside of the United States, after you come back, and we're really looking forward to meeting you and seeing you on campus. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Josephine. You know, we covered a lot of territory in this webinar session for you today, and some of this can be complicated and overwhelming, and especially for an international student who might be traveling, you know, halfway around the world to come to UT Dallas. We want to make the transition through admissions, through international students and scholars office issues. We want to make sure that we've given you the security of knowing how our programs work and understanding what the journey is going to be like. But that means that we also need to be available to answer all the questions that you have. There's lots of ways to get answers to your questions, and we're going to answer questions in this session now. But after this session is over, I want to give you an idea of how you can get additional answers to questions. You can always email jindal@utdallas.edu. That's probably the easiest and fastest way to ask a general question. If you have a question that is specific to your degree program, then you really want to connect with that degree program. It's real easy to do that. Just go to our homepage, choose the degree program, and right on that front page, you're going to find the program director's contact information, the program's contact information, and the program support person's contact information. And you can fire off a question and they will answer that promptly for you. The other way to get answers to questions is to send one to the JSOM question desk. We'll be glad to address general questions that you have there. But we want to make sure that you know and have a sense of security about everything that you're jumping into. And we realize that as an international applicant, you know, that's a big transition from around the world. And we're absolutely delighted that you are thinking about UT Dallas as the destination for your graduate education. We bring in hundreds of students, really thousands of students around the world each year, both in the fall and in the spring. And we always welcome the joy that that new perspective brings to our really wonderful global culture that we have here at UT Dallas. I love what our international students say about coming here, that it really becomes home to them, and we really want it to be your home as well. So why don't we jump over to questions you may have. Norma, I bet there's questions for all of our speakers this morning, but why don't you throw them at us and let's see if we can answer these questions.
We have a a lot of great questions, and some of them we've already answered, but I'm going to go ahead and go to Gaurav for our very first question, because it has to do with people who are kind of deciding between computer science, business analytics, and information technology and management, which are very popular programs here at UT Dallas. And so I was hoping you kind of talk our applicants through the kind of the thought process on which might be the best fit for them.
Absolutely. I have training and experience in all three of them to answer this question. Trust me, guys. Okay. One of the good things that comes to mind is whether I should do a CS degree. And a lot of times we think about a computer science degree as the potential master's degree. Now, it's a great program, no doubt about it. But my question to you is, how do you see yourself after you get this master's degree? What are you doing? What does your job look like? Are you more on the software development side? Are you developing softwares? Are you coding softwares? Or are you more of a person who's working on systems? Or are you somebody who's interfacing with the business, trying to gather requirements, understand their challenges, and then using a technology stack, you are solving that problem? Now, you may be involved in developing the solution. You may be the one who architects it, designs it, and has a team that works on it. If you're the former, where you yourself are developing solutions and you're the one who's mainly responsible for the programming element, then that's the computer science degree. But if you're thinking from a systems applied perspective, then the IT management degree is a good choice for you. But every computer application, every software is designed to manage data. And if your focus is going down to that data layer and being the person who not only develops data pipelines, does a lot of data engineering, pulls in data into a warehouse, let's say, models them, fine tunes the model, optimizes it, puts it onto a visualization tool, and explains the insights that you got from your analysis to maybe a group of stakeholders, then you are thinking of doing something in the analytics domain, and that's where the business analytics degree comes handy. So to be honest, what your future goal is after the degree is what will help you decide whether you should go for a CS degree, an ITM degree, or a business analytics degree. Now, I'll tell you my own case. A lot of times we feel, sitting outside of the US, that the only option for us to get a technical degree is a computer science degree. But to be honest, a techno-managerial school like ours, the Jindal School, we have degrees that not only give you a good flavor of what the business side of the world looks like, but also you are heavily invested into the technical elements and you earn and learn those skills as well. So if you wanted to be a problem solver or somebody who's using technology to create solutions and solve problems, you should go for an ITM or a business analytics degree.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. I'm going to go ahead and bring Josephine to the screen because we have some questions about the I-20. We have an attendee who's wondering when they should apply for their I-20. Should they wait until they get a decision about fall scholarship, or can they apply before they get a scholarship decision and then maybe get a new I-20 once they get a scholarship decision?
So that's a great question. It's very common. We always encourage students to apply as soon as you get admitted to the university. The earlier you get your admission, the faster you're going to get the I-20 because you're not waiting until the last minute. Once you get your I-20, you can start the visa process. You can apply for the visa appointment and you can get the visa up to a year before you arrive. If you later get a scholarship or something changes in your funding source, you can absolutely request us to update the I-20 with your financial information, but you'll want to check depending on where you are in the visa process. If it's after you've already gotten the visa, you can wait to change the financial information when you arrive in the United States. Or if it's before you get the visa process or your visa appointment started, you let us know so we can make sure we have that updated I-22 before you go for your visa interview. But you definitely want to make sure that you apply for your I-20 as soon as possible after your admission.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and bring Dean Powell back to the screen because we have some questions about the size of our programs. Some of our programs, like business analytics, are quite large. And so people are wondering, if they'll still be able to get the same kind of career opportunities in such a large program.
Wow, Norma, that is really such a great question. I think it's really important for students to understand the advantages that come with going to a really big graduate school. When you go to a big graduate school, that's the destination where all the employers want to go to try and hire as many students as they can. Sometimes students think that if they go to a small cohort program, has 20 students in it, there's less competition for the internships. But I can tell you that employers don't want to go to 100 schools that have 20 people in them. They love coming to highly talented schools like ours, where they can maybe hire every single intern that they need for the upcoming session. It is not at all unusual that if a large global firm is seeking to hire 150 interns, they might come here and fill a third of those positions with our students. So there's a lot more opportunity when you come to a big school. Also in a big school, you're able to have a greater diversity of the concentrations and tracks that you study, because we are able to offer a massive amount of electives. Really the greatest number of electives in a graduate business program that you're going to find in America. And that's because we have a lot of students and a lot of faculty. It gives us the opportunity for you to tailor and personalize that experience specifically to you. And then we also have an incredible support team of our students, whether it's in the International Students and Scholars Office, whether it's in our admissions team, whether it's in our advising operation. We have lots of different people that support degree programs. And the one caveat of our school that is mentioned on every exit survey is that the top feature of our program is our faculty. They really care about the individual success of every single student. Students who come from abroad may not be used to interacting with faculty in the classroom setting, engaging with them after class, going to visit them in office hours. But our faculty are so committed. It's really a remarkable quality of our school. So don't let size be a distraction. It is an advantage. And we hope that you will talk to current students and reach out to your program director. They all have current students and ambassadors who can talk about the experience here in the Jindal School and how that can be such an advantage. Our school is big. It's blowing and going 24/7. Doesn't matter what time of day I come into the building, there seem to be students here, even if it's in the middle of the night. It really is quite remarkable how they take advantage of the opportunities from the degree programs to the concentrations and tracks to the opportunity to engage with alumni and professionals every day that they're here, involve in leadership opportunities in our student organizations, and have opportunity for internships and final placement. It's a really cool place to be. And I think you'll discover that quickly by talking to current students or alumni from our programs.
And I think we have time for one more question before we wrap it up. We have some students who've been looking at our website and they're interested in the business analytics program, but they see that we offer a flex and a cohort. So I was wondering if you could talk about the difference between them.
Oh, that's another great question. So we have programs, a few programs that have multiple formats, and our business analytics program happens to have 3 formats. So you can either go fully online, which means all of your classes are online, or you can go into our cohort program, which only has about 2 different tracks or concentrations. Or you can go into the flex program that has a bunch of concentrations and options. Our biggest program is our flex program, and our second biggest is our cohort. When you're in the cohort program, you tend to take your classes with the same subset of students that are following the same track, but you have all the same program support in a more intimate program like the cohort versus the flex. But whether you're in the flex or the cohort, you're engaging in all the same student organizations, you're engaging in all the same career and internship opportunities and everything that the campus has to offer you. The difference is that you're in a smaller setting of the same number of students versus the flex, where you're really mingling with students from a lot of our graduate programs who might be engaged in the elective courses.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Powell. I do want to remind our attendees that if they have any additional questions that they think about after today, they can email us at jindal@utdallas.edu, but I'll hand it over to you for some closing remarks.
Well, thank you. First, I want to thank our team. Corina, thank you for being here this morning. We've got registration going on right now, so students are busily enrolling in their spring classes, and I know your team is very busy. Same for you, Josephine. I know your entire team in operation are trying to get those I-20s out for students and taking care of our alumni who are on OPT and students that are getting ready to graduate. And Gaurav, who's our assistant dean for graduate programs, but is also the program director for our MS and Business Analytics program. All of these are busy people, but we care deeply about our incoming students and our applicants. And we really focus on making sure that all of those questions, all of those doubts, any uncertainty that you have about coming to the Jindal School, that those questions are answered. It's a big decision to go all the way around the world or to come up from Waco, Texas to go to school here. And we just want to make sure that all of your questions are answered. So please feel free to reach out to us. You can send an email to jindal@utdallas.edu. You can be involved in learning about the program and getting engaged, and we are thrilled about you joining us. So please complete that application. Get that information in. You can see that our dean just came in behind me to leave something on our desk. He's highly engaged as well. So thank all of you for being here. We look forward to having you on board. We look forward to reviewing your application. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. We hope that you'll be in touch, and we'll be back in touch with you very soon. Thanks so much, Norma.